Welcome back to the R Primer tutorial. I'm Ty Taylor from the Operator's Manual for the Planet, and this is a tutorial to get you up and running in programming for data analysis in R. This is a video in a series of videos for this tutorial. You can find the whole playlist of videos in the notes below this video on YouTube. In those notes, there's also a link to a Google Drive folder which contains the tutorial files that we're using here. So if you want, you can download and open up the R tutorial with blank in the title, and then all you have to do is type what I type as I type it. The easiest way is going to be for you to put this YouTube video on an external monitor or on your TV or on your phone even, because what you're going to do is just watch me on the video and then you type in whatever you see me typing into your own computer. So you'll need two screens to do this, okay? Okay, on to the last couple of sections of this tutorial. I'll just introduce you to the concept of packages. So packages are just collections of functions. Anybody can make packages in R and publish them. R is open source. And that just means anyone can make a collection of functions that they think might be useful to other people for some particular task. And they can package them all up in an R package and publish them in the R repository of packages for other people to call in. So it's kind of like functions are R's vocabulary. So R is a programming language. The vocabulary of R is functions. And packages, you could think of, are kind of like dialects of R, because people can make a package with a whole set of totally different functions that's a different set of vocabulary than the regular base R, what we've been working with so far. And that, if you think about it that way, as there's the base R language and then all these packages are different dialects, the more packages you try to use, the more dialects you have to learn of the R language. You'll of course get used to working with R and you'll still use a lot of the basic language even when working with other packages. But for that reason, I suggest, especially at the beginning, use packages sparingly. Do most of your coding in base R, because that's just one language that you have to learn. And if you give your code to other people, they'll be able to read it too, because everyone knows the base R language, but not everyone knows the particular package that you're trying to use. Okay, to install a package though, when you do want to, and some of them are extremely generally useful, you can use the function install.packages. So let's try an example. We'll type here under 10-1.1 install.packages, open parentheses, and we're going to install ggplot2. And then you can see this kind of progress bar and the progress where R installs the package and its dependent packages, because some packages call other packages. ggplot2 is like a gold standard for making pretty plots in R. I use it instead of base R actually for plotting, so it's kind of my preferred dialect for plotting in R. Now, once you've installed the package, then you need to load it before it's available to use in R, and you can load it into R with the library function. So we can call library ggplot2 with no quotes, just say ggplot2. And it will load it into R. And I already had it loaded, so you didn't see any extra lines of code being executed down there. You might have seen it on yours, though. Now let's just get the help for the function ggplot. So !ggplot. And now that we have called the ggplot2 library into R, now it has access to the ggplot function and its help files. So packages, when they're published, they will come with help files similar to the ones that we've been accessing from the base R language. So there's the ggplot function, and here it describes the arguments. There's another way to call in packages using the require function. So if I go require ggplot2, that is the same as library, except that it's kind of quieter. If the package has already been called in, then it just won't take any action. So I usually prefer to use require. Let's practice. Before we finish off this tutorial, give you a little bit of practice with some basic troubleshooting of code, because this is where you will spend the majority of your time in R, is troubleshooting, trying to figure out what went wrong with your code, why you're getting an error. So let's practice a couple examples here. These lines of code are already filled in. So we'll do our setup code here, create vector1, call empty cars, and then we're just going to add the model column to empty cars like we did before. And now in 11-1.1, let's check what's wrong with this line. We want to make a new object v out of vector1. Take a few seconds, pause the video, and see if you can figure out what's wrong with that line. Okay, now I'll show you. What's wrong with that line is we didn't spell vector1 right. Vector1 had a dot in it. You have to be extremely careful with your spelling in R, because if it's slightly off, if you use a capital letter instead of a lowercase, or you miss a dot like in this case, R will have no idea what you're talking about and what you're looking for. It has no flexibility in interpreting the code that you type. So you have to be perfect with your code. Let's try this next line. What's wrong with this one? I'm going to take 5 seconds, and you can use this to pause the video, and then I'll show you the answer. Okay, maybe after pausing the video and taking a look at this code, you have found that we are missing a comma. Now, how do we figure that out? So take a look at the error that was produced down below, and it says error, unexpected symbol in, and then it gives you the code, and it kind of stops printing the code somewhere near where it encountered something unexpected. So you can see how it didn't print the =3 and the close parentheses. It stopped right at endcall because it was somewhere around here where it detected something was wrong. So this can be helpful because you can go to the end of the code that it prints and you say, okay, the error is somewhere around there. Now we come up and we see, so something like before endcall was a problem. When we call the matrix has these two arguments. The first one is the data, and the next one is the end call. And when you call a function, arguments need to be separated by a comma. So this was missing a comma right there between the data being given to matrix and then the number of calls we wanted to put it into. Now we can execute that and it works fine. Okay, let's try another example here with empty cars. There is an unexpected bracket at the end of this code. So this bracket is unexpected. Why is that? I'll wait 5 seconds. You can pause the video to try to figure that out. Okay, let's see what it is that went wrong here. So we called empty cars and we wanted to index within empty cars. So we're trying to change the column model to equal, we're going to try to change the entry in empty cars. Let's look at the head of empty cars. Empty cars has this column model, and what we're trying to do is change the model in the rows 2 through 4 and 6. And we want to change those to Mazda. So we tried to index within empty cars, and we tried to call rows 2 through 4 and 6, and then the column model. But We've started to create a vector here with the open parentheses, but we never closed that parentheses. So that's our problem. Now notice just how difficult it was to find the error when there was no spaces in this line of code. It's all just kind of bunched together. Now I'm going to put that error back in place. It was just that close of parentheses. Now I'm going to add some space, the kind of spaces that I would typically include in this kind of line of code. Remember, spaces can go anywhere between items in code. So now that we have empty cars, we give a little space. We're opening the indexing. That looks good. We're going to create a vector of column names. So we call C parentheses, and we have our comma separating from the column. But okay, now it already is pretty clear because this is sitting on its own that it's missing something. Whenever you see an open parentheses or bracket or quote and you don't see the closed one, you should feel very uncomfortable, and that'll become automatic after a while in R. So that's where we close our parentheses. That was much easier to see when we use spaces. Use spaces in your code. All right. That brings us to the end of the R primer tutorial. We went through how easy is it to do the most common things you would do with data in R, ANOVAs, regressions, and plots. We went through the basics of RStudio and how to code in R from the basic math through objects, vectors, functions, matrices, data frames, importing data, working with that bigger data, packages, and a little bit of troubleshooting practice. I hope that this tutorial has made you feel a little bit more comfortable, and I hope it's taken some of the fear out of starting to code in R. You are still going to have to practice a lot and learn a lot more vocabulary, that is, the functions that are the language of R. But have no fear. Continue on with my next tutorials as they appear, and consider sending me an email and expressing your interest in an online course. You can email me at earth.operations.r@gmail.com, and I'll let you know when any new tutorials drop on YouTube, and I'll let you know about online course offerings. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this useful, please give this video a like. Leave a comment below about what you found was most helpful from this tutorial and what you found was the most confusing. That would be useful for me and for other people to know. Every moment invested in learning R through tutorials is going to save you months of time in the future as you're troubleshooting, working with your own code. So I promise you this time is well spent. Congratulations for going through it, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Peace.